Hello grown-ups of Class R, I hope you're safe and having a lovely time with the members of Class R. My only personal experience, the closest thing to it I could possibly think of is a day of wet play, so I hope you're okay. This video is to help you deliver some phonics home learning. I'm going to give you some slides and I just thought it'd be easier to make a video and kind of deliver it rather than you just sort of look at the resources and the planning and try and make sense of it. It's just easier to see things. Before I go through the slides, I'm just going to kind of catch you up to date with where we are in our kind of phonics learning journey, where we got to sort of thing. The first bit I was going to point out is we're now doing phase 4. That's the only difference. Luckily, the content isn't any different. The kids know everything that will be delivered. They just won't have experienced it in the context, if that makes sense. So, for example, phase 2 was all the sort of single sounds. Phase 3 was digraphs and trigraphs, and this little diagram is of phase 4. So the right way around. Basically, we're kind of going to go from CVC words, so consonant, vowel, consonant, simple words. They're the easiest ones to break down and hear the sounds and spell. And now we're going to move on to ones with a consonant blend. So for example, CVCC words like mend. The blend of n and d to make the n sound is the hardest to hear, along with if it's at the beginning of the word, like the st in stop. Now, we're calling them blends. They're not digraphs. They still make exactly the same sound. They're just very close together, which is the sort of tricky bit that we need to practice. So it's quite simple, really. There's also an increased number of tricky words, which will be the green side of the tower. We'll now be covering these tricky words too. Meanwhile, practicing all the ones we've already done, and just a little bit of an increase in writing. But yeah, so it's not too scary, and the format of the slides are going to remain the same throughout, and I'm just going to show you that one PowerPoint will have kind of 4 sections on it that will last you like the week. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the Friday, if we were in school, I would literally just practice the blends that we'd covered that week. So rather than just talking about it, I'm just going to go through it. So where it says phonics with Fred, will be kind of like your sort of signpost to like the start of the slides. Apologies if it's a bit grainy and dark, it's the only way I could get to see the screen as well. So the first bit will be revise. Before I start that, actually, I'd have gone through kind of all the flashcards of single sounds, the digraphs, and then this bit, the first bit on the screen, is a revision of the tricky words. Oops. So the green ones will have the kind of the visuals with them to help them. So there's a little person in there that's like, so. So anything that's green, you might need to read to them because they might not have experienced it before. But as I flick through them, the children just read them out loud. So again, said is a green one, so they might not have seen that one before, so you might help them. However, he, we have done before, and the visuals have been taken away, and it's now just written as he. So we'll go through them all, like go, she, are, me, the, to, no, we, my, all, I, was, they, into, be, and then that would be the end of them. It is meant to be quite fast paced, it's just revision. But again, as the slides go on and as the weeks go forward, there'll be less visuals, and they eventually turn into just the yellow written words, and then other ones are introduced as well. But that'll all be taken care of for you. That will just be in the slides. So once that's done, you then move on to the next part, which will be kind of the teaching side. So you'll just introduce what the blend is. So we've got s, t. So together you can blend them to make a st, st sound. So we'd practice that a little bit verbally. St, st, st. Making sure you can hear the distinct sounds, but they are blending them together. Then we will have a go at some reading and some matching. So, little secret, basically, start with the top word, because as you go through the slides, it will match the top one first, then the next one, the next one, the next one. So don't start at the bottom because it won't work that way. They've got the sound buttons on to help them. So we go t, o, st, toast. So obviously they'd read that, they'd find the picture to match, and then when you click the next button, it'll match it up. Then we go on to the next one. Nest. Nest. Match it by clicking the button. And the next one, rest. Rest. So this must mean, but we still check that they still match, because otherwise we haven't done it right. Chest. Chest. Perfect. So that's a bit of a practice. Then the next slide will be a practice of rainbow sentence. Basically, it'll always go green, orange, red. It's the subject. Call this bit the predicate, which just basically talks about the subject, and a stop. So we'll have a go. Her sports. Sports. Car. Cost. Cost. A lot. Lot. Her sports car costs a lot. We always make sure we reread it again as a whole sentence, and then we'd usually have a little bit of a chat about it, like, oh, how much do you think it cost? If you had a fancy sports car, what colour would you want? And just for a bit of comprehension. Then the next slide is the kind of apply stage. So I would have the children, if you see a little pencil, that means it's a little written activity. So this child is wearing a vest. Sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they're not. So if you look on the phonics plan, it will say on the end on the apply section what the words are. This one is vest. So I'd say it, vest, and I'd say chop it up with me. V-E-S-T, vest. So then they'd have a go at writing it themselves, which I'm sure you can imagine. And once they've done that, you can have a go at checking it on the screen. So as you press each button, V-E-S-T, vest. And then they can tick it off if they got all the sounds. There'll be another one. So this one is not so obvious, but on the plan it says it's lost. So you can talk a little bit about, oh, well, he's in the supermarket. I can't see his grown up. He's lost. Say lost. Lost. And then we chop it up again. L-O-S-T. Lost. So we chop it up as we write it down. Then once they've had a go, you can check it by pressing the buttons. L-O-S-T. Lost. And they can tick off what they got right. So after 2 single words, last challenge will be a very simple sentence. So this is to kind of help remind them we're going to start, write about the subject, and then finish with a full stop. Again, it's not obvious what the sentence would be from this, but it would be something you dictate to the child. So even I've written down what this is. I think it's meant to be, he is lost. So I'll say it's that. We're going to write, he is lost. So we'll practice saying the sentence and count how many words there are. He is lost. So it's a 3-word sentence. So when we finish, we should look and check that we've got 3 words. The first word, the subject, what this sentence is about, is he. So we'd say, oh, it's he. He's a tricky word. Make sure you write it correctly. You can use your tricky word tower, not a problem at all. But this is the kind of stage where you want to encourage your child to kind of do it for themselves. They're really good at asking, what's next? What's next? But I want them to work it out. So they can use that if they need it for he. So we'd write down he, finger space, is, write it down. Lost. And again, it will be a word that we should have practiced already. So actually they're a little bit geared up to do the hardest part of the sentence. Lost. Again, chop it up. Lost. Write it down and make sure they finish their sentence. If you prompt them with, have you finished your sentence? Quite often then they'll be able to say, oh, no, not yet, and add the full stop. And once you've done that, we can check it by pressing the buttons, and I think it comes up by each word. He is lost. And then the full stop. And then the next button, can you see it says phonics with Fred, so I know that's tomorrow's blend, which I think is ND. So on the whole phonics slide, you've got 4 days worth. I appreciate you'll be able to do what you can at home, and anything at all is great. But if you manage to do the slides and that's the only writing, the only reading they do like at all, and it's just on there, that's absolutely fine. More is better, obviously, but yeah, I hope that's in any way helpful. Yeah, so have fun.